The Big 12 Experience Week 2 Power Rankings edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm, RITHMM today. And make sure you enter the free roll football contest up to $3,500 in prizes up for grabs. Go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today. And welcome everybody into the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Week 1 is in the books. Let's move on to week 2. Well, week 1 definitely was a week to forget for our picks. The dogs were not barking. It was as chalky as hell as it gets. Honestly, kind of a boring weekend in college football for the most part. A lot of big games that had a lot of hype were blowouts. Definitely our team included in the background. Georgia, Clemson, Florida, Miami, a lot of blowouts, but hey, that means week 2 is going to be absolutely electric in college football. First off, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, and talking Big 12. So let's get right into it because this guy is a walking contradiction because he was born in Provo, Utah. He's got family names Iowa, lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, co-host of the Ryan and Rush Show, Rambling Rush. Rush, what's up, man?
Yeah, let's move on to week 2. This week 1, if you want to include kind of the week 0, and oh man, just awful. This is the worst betting week probably of my life, honestly. So it can only get better. I will say it seemed like all like the Saturday games were the letdown. Like Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday were good. I know, the fact that they don't fill in the Sunday and Monday, we should have college football all those 2 days as well.
Yeah.
Because the NFL's coming, folks. So overall, it's been fun, including week 0. It's been good. It could be a lot worse, but I'm with you. It was a little boring on Saturday, but hey, week 2. This is what we talked about when we did our non-con episode. This is a big statement week for the Big 12.
Yeah, we're going to go power rankings, and then at the end we're going to break down just some of the games headlines heading into week 2 because it is a bunch of swing games for this league. But third man in the box, let's bring him in because he's always fighting a family civil war in the Big 12 country, whether in Waco, Stillwater, Fort Worth, Orlando, Cincinnati, all over the land, maybe even Tucson. He is the Big 12 guru, a.k.a. green mowing, weed growing. Troy Chewning, what is up, brother?
Well, we did have to aerate the greens at the golf course today, which is always sad, looking all the fucking mud on the nice, smooth, awesome greens from the whole summer. But, yeah, I mean, 8-8 wasn't really too horrible of a week.
You managed.
Was able to slide by. There were actually a few dogs barking, but I got made fun of for taking those dogs, UT Martin and Abilene Christian. But Abilene Christian almost fucking won that outright, dude. That would have been the funniest shit of all time.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about Texas Tech here in a minute.
Oh, of course.
All right, gigs. Troy, let me ask you real quick. Get right into it. Who would you give your game ball to for week 2?
Well, Gundy had another nice post-game presser, and what looks like a permed mullet at this point is it's got you jumping kind of excited in Stillwater early enough in a season to win. I mean, I know it's not, South Dakota's a team that's just a really good program, but you should manhandle them. You should have the experience and the size. I'll give one to Gundy just off the top, but yeah, I think I'm going to have to subtract a game ball for the locks that we put on Houston and Arizona. It doesn't even matter what else you do with those two.
The Houston Cougars. We'll get to them in a minute. Rush.
Minus
your game ball.
Sorry.
Yeah, minus game ball.
So you're giving it to Gundy. Troy, I'll give mine to Dillingham over at Arizona State.
Ooh, yeah.
Very impressive. They screwed us there. We thought Wyoming was going to make that a game. Tough game. Even though it is at home, Wyoming showed that they can, sometimes get the best of the Big 12. Arizona State really needed that for their program and to start their Big 12 journey off well, and they did. Shout out to Arizona State. You got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, you guys stole who I probably would give the game balls to. So I'll give out a co-game ball here to two guys on the hot seat. Just avoiding week one embarrassing losses. Actually, Sataki didn't have the embarrassing one, the non-con. I'll give it to Aranda and Baylor. Taking care of business, winning by 40+ in the opener, avoiding the upset against Tarleton. So well done, Dave Aranda. You get my game ball. All right, let's get into the power rankings. But on the other side, let's talk about first the Sports Gambling Podcast because it's back bigger, better than ever. NFL starts this weekend. Shit, NFL starts in 2 days. Pick against every single game over there. Make sure you enter the football contest free roll challenge to win up to $3,500. I mean, if you're going to have a hell of a year, you might as well try and win $3,500. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. Back on the Big 12 college experience. Let's go 1 to 16, and 16 I think is going to be unanimous. This was the easiest one. I'll go first. Houston, 27-7 at home. By the way, the Big 12 won 14-2. The only loss being Houston, West Virginia. I'm not saying UNLV is a bad team. It's a good team in the Mountain West, but you can't get manhandled by 3 touchdowns at home. Rush, who's your 16th ranked team?
Yeah, this is the easiest. I'm sure we're all on the same page here. A lot that Fritz needs to figure out. We thought he was going to get a little bit of that new coach buzz and be able to figure it out. They got absolutely destroyed. It was never a game. It was never even enjoyable to watch. Houston has a long way to go.
Yeah, our moneymaker Willie Fritz over the last few years might have ran into the I don't know, maybe it's the IRS version of football here. Like no matter what, he's going to have to pay his taxes for a little while at Houston. It seems, not a great look. Again, you can lose this game. You can lose this game by 10 points. You can lose this game by 13 or something and have it be a 6-point game and give up a touchdown late and be like, they dressed it up, blah, 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 blah. 27-7 and just manhandled the whole game. Not a great look.
Rush, number 15. I'll go over to you to lead it off with our 15th.
So don't forget, week one, you got a little bit of an overreaction. It's that combination of you're reacting to a small sample size, right? But also you keep a little bit of where you think they're projected. So I don't know how this is going to compare to the rest of you guys. I'm actually putting Texas Tech here. You can't be going to overtime with Abilene Christian. Obviously, we keep waiting for them to get to that spark. Another first, I guess they ended up winning the game, but a lot of, you start thinking about losing to Wyoming last year, Oregon. You can't be beating them in overtime. Texas Tech, they have a long way to go too.
Troy, do you agree? Or you have somebody else?
I have Tech 1 point higher. I still have them at 14th. Like they took a pretty big fall. Again, not solidified yet in my mind at Texas Tech. Still possible glue factory team. Things could not be great, but I don't want to overlook Cincinnati kind of looking like crap against Towson, and I don't think we should give them much of a bump. So I still have them down there in the bottom and then Tech at 14th.
Yeah, I ended up dropping Tech all the way down to 15, and I had Cincinnati at 14. You look at the box score too, man. Texas Tech got outplayed. They gave up over 600 yards of offense, 30 first downs. Like McGuire's supposed to be a defensive coach, and we'll give him a little bit of credit for finding a way to win. I mean, the alternative's a lot worse. They could have lost the bye game to the FCS. They got a lot to reflect on because they go to Pullman this week, but they got 15 for me. I had Cincinnati at 14. I thought they were awful too. Defensively, offensively, they look good. They ran the ball for 300 yards, but defensively, man, they give up over 400 yards to Towson. You're not going to win in the Big 12 giving up over 400 yards to Towson. So they're at number 14 for me. Troy's the opposite of me. Rush, what did you have for your 14th team?
The biased fan is going to come out and still disappointed. West Virginia. I know they have a lot of talent, and this may be a severe overreaction. You know, a little emotional bias might be in here as well. But here's the thing, and I got lit up in the Ryan and Rush comments on our post game for this because I don't think people quite understand what I meant by it. Did Penn State dominate West Virginia? Yeah, they did. But my point was West Virginia dominated themselves. They had opportunities to show, hey, we're not that West Virginia team anymore that's going to lay down. Neil Brown can kind of show us a better game plan. The game plan was atrocious. Neil Brown still hasn't showed he's made the jump yet to compete with these top 10 teams. I get we played Penn State. I understand that. But you got to take advantage of when they're going to fumble the ball. You can't be fumbling it next play when a guy's running in motion or, you know, just the play calling on 4th and 1 is just awful. So this may be a severe overreaction, but I need to see a lot more out of this team with all that they're capable of and bringing back. So I'm putting them in 14. Hopefully they'll be jumping up after Albany this week because if they stay there after Albany, it might be a long season, Ryan.
Yeah. I think you're overreacting a little bit, but yeah, I understand. We only have one game as a sample size. Troy, what'd you have for 13?
For 13, I'm going to give Arizona State this is a bump for me. They looked really, really great, but you know, it is a 1 week thing, and I had them pretty low to start off the year. So this is still a significant bump for me. I just saw teams win a couple other games against some what I would consider better competition. And I do still have W a spot ahead of them. If you were wondering, I at least was impressed with West Virginia's defense before they got everything thrown off by the delay at halftime and all of that BS. There's not a lot good to say. I know I was ranting before the show. You go for 3 or 4 fourth downs on the first 2 drives of the game. There needs to be 7 points on the board. And that means on the second drive, you can't just kick a field goal and be like, you know, we're in this game against a ranked opponent. But I didn't want to overreact. So I put Arizona State there at 13. And then obviously, you know, W at my 12 spot just for the explanation.
Okay. Rush, who'd you have at 13 and 12?
13 is Cincinnati with you guys. The thing about that game, Cincinnati, you know, it never got close enough where we were worried Cincinnati was going to lose, but they never pulled away either. This is Towson. We have a lot of concerns that carry over from last year into this Cincinnati team. So I'm with you guys there. Number 12, I'm actually putting TCU. Man, they looked sloppy. I thought they were going to want it more than what they came out. I feel like they felt like they were going to go out to Stanford and just go through the motions and win by 30 points. Maybe in the first half, but I figured they'd come out in the second half, you know, ready to go and be like, guys, we were in the national championship 2 years ago. They just, I don't know. They got a lot to figure out still. They just look sloppy, going through the motions. My biggest concern with TCU, I've talked about it earlier, is our players, this generation of players, the post-NIL transfer portal, are they responding to Sonny Dykes? Like, I have that concern. I know 2 years ago they were in the Natty, but like, there's just something, there's a disconnect between him and the players. We started to see it last year. Maybe the team was just too good 2 years ago for something that happens. I have concerns about that disconnect there with TCU.
Yeah, all worth noting with Sonny Dykes. At 13, I went Colorado. I don't see anything that changed. Yeah, they got Shedeur Sanders and they got Travis Hunter. Talented guys. Their defense is still bad. Over 400 plus yards. North Dakota State moved the ball whenever they wanted to move the ball. It's an FCS opponent. You can't be giving up 400. If you give up 400 plus yards to an FCS opponent, I'm knocking you down a couple spots. I know North Dakota State's good traditionally, but they're not as good as they've been. I thought Colorado kind of lucky to get out of there alive, and Dion coaching still matters. Still can't manage the clock. But yeah, keep going for those first downs. You almost just got Mario Cristobal in week 1 against a fucking FCS team. So big question marks with Colorado for me. Iowa State at number 12. I thought they looked bad. I thought they looked sloppy. Maybe they're going through the motions, vanilla, but offensively, I didn't think they looked very good. Rocco Becht, they were kind of sloppy in my opinion, offensively, defensively. Kind of lucky only to give up 3. They give up over 300 yards of offense. So Iowa State at number 12 for me. they're giving me 7-5 overrated vibes, to be honest, so far. Number 11, Troy.
Here is also a team that this is technically a bump for me, but I didn't want to put too much value in a Southern Illinois game, but fully controlled it and definitely looked better than what I would have expected out of BYU here. So I gave them a little bit of bump in my power rankings, but I don't want to throw them up there, not necessarily above like a TCU, because I still think Stanford would handle an opponent like BYU did. Maybe not necessarily the same way, but I think the strength of the opponent does matter a little bit, in the fact that TCU was able to find a way to win, even when, they obviously don't look that impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where I'm joining you here at number 11, Ryan, with Colorado. Hey, it was one of the good games. It definitely wasn't a boring game. Still, major concerns with Deion Sanders as a head coach. Like you just said, Cristobal, like, dude, you got to run the ball, run out the clock.
Jesus, what are you doing?
Yeah, Travis Hunter's incredible, absolutely generational talent. His son Tetairoa looks great too. I will give him a little credit. It can sometimes go too far, where you got to be careful with penalties and stuff down the line. The reason I put them ahead of TCU is because those guys, I mean, they do have the dog in them. Like Deion Sanders did at least coach them up to that, where they competitive, where TCU kind of looks more like that lackadaisical. I would still take, a team with high energy. Now, the fear you have there is hopefully you don't get over emotional and, it goes to hurt you, but I'll take a little emotion. I do think they do care, but real concerns about their head ball coach and his ability to call the right plays.
Yep.
And
I agree. Game. I agree. Here, you want a controversial one? Number 11, Arizona. That defense is awful. They gave up almost 500 yards to a bottom 10 FBS team in New Mexico. New Mexico's awful. And for them to be in a tie game at halftime in their opener, yes, Fifita is phenomenal. McMillan's phenomenal. But my same argument for Colorado almost applies to Arizona. You got to show me a little bit of defense. You're not going to win in this league just scoring 60, 70 points. You're not going to do that against the good teams. I thought Arizona looked like shit. But hey, I give them credit. They outlasted New Mexico kind of like Montana State did. But it was more so just New Mexico's a bad football team. That's a 1-11, 2-10 New Mexico team that they let just score 40 points on Saturday night. So Arizona at number 11 for me. Kind of like Iowa State. I'm getting 7-5 overrated vibes. Troy?
At number 10 is where I have TCU. Again, still were able to beat, Stanford, not necessarily a huge program name for football anymore, or, consistently putting out fantastic teams, but still go to the farm on the road, win a game in the first game of the year. I didn't want to overreact and drop them too low. So TCU here.
Number 10 for me. I don't know if this is going to surprise people or not, but I actually have UCF. I know they won the game by, 57-3. Yes, that's my real concern. It's what I tried to warn everyone to start. Their first 2, 3, 4, whatever it was, possessions, and they're getting field goals, and he's missing receivers, and he just looks sloppy. And I know they won 57-3, but we're also talking about New Hampshire here, and UCF always, it seems like, win this game. I have real concerns for Jefferson and that offense when the game is on the line and you need to make something happen. And you can't necessarily fully rely on your legs because the clock's against you. We saw UCF's limitations week 1 there, and it wasn't as hidden as some might thought it would be. Number 10, UCF.
I like that. At number 10, I had BYU. I don't like BYU. They did their job. They controlled the game, but it's an FCS team. But unlike some of the other ones that I'm knocking that kind of didn't look the part against an FCS, BYU did their part. So I got them at number 10. Rush, I'll go back to you, and then Troy, then me, and then we'll take a break to talk the top half of the Big 12.
Sure. This is where I have BYU. They actually, I know we're talking FCS team here, but they actually looked like they had some momentum. They looked like they had some pride. They did all the right things. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot. I know they got to go through the Big 12 schedule, and they're going to play teams a lot better than Southern Illinois. But it's a lot of people were concerned about that 14 points, and I know it got bet up a little bit at the end towards there, but hey, they didn't do anything wrong, and there is something to be said about that with BYU. So
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going 6-6, kind of right in the that 8, 9, 10 spot in the Big 12. So hey, as a BYU fan, I was pleased with what I saw.
Number 9 for me is where I have Baylor. They didn't really move compared to the offseason kind of order power ranking, whatever thing we did. And I didn't really want to move them. They probably should win games this way. It just has been a foreign thing the last couple of years. And it seems, like they should be getting back to the norm, controlling some of these early games the way that they did. And no bump, but no knack on them yet. I just see this as, what Baylor should be doing as a program with Texas recruits. They should be able to run up the score on some of these lower schools instead of being a dogfight with them.
Yeah, I'll echo everything you said, and Rush just did as well with Baylor. They did their job. I mean, they didn't fuck around like they did last year with Texas State, win by 40 plus. They just gave them a game ball. So they rounded out at number 9 for me. Real quick, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Get on over there and check out Underdog. They got week 2 is starting to trickle out. So make sure you get your promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back on the Big 12 College Experience talking power rankings, and we move along to the top half. Rush, who do you got at number 8?
So they're probably not going to stay at number 8, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. In Arizona State, I gave them the game ball earlier in this episode. They did everything right. They did everything beyond, what we thought they were capable of. Really built some momentum. Great start to their Big 12 journey, as I was saying earlier. Hey, if they're going to play like this, or at least, somewhat decent, they could stick around and surprise a lot of people. Their schedule's not terrible. So, hey, maybe they can make something out of it. I was really pleased with what I saw with Arizona State. Definitely could be a game where they turn the corner.
Number 8 for me is where I'm going to put Iowa State. Again, didn't want to really move them too much. They get kind of a bump down because feel like they probably should have performed a little bit better. But again, don't want to have a week 1 overreaction here. I still think they're going to end up kind of around that middle of the pack in the Big 12.
I had TCU at 8. I give them credit for getting a Power 4 win, although Stanford is at the bottom of the ACC. They should have won that game by 3 touchdowns. If you look at
Florida State.
Yeah, true. I forgot. Stanford is better than Florida State right now. But if you look at the box score, they dominated that game. They should have won that game by 3 touchdowns. They had almost 500 yards of offense. They committed 3 goddamn 15-yard penalties on the opening drive. Sloppy. Need to clean it up, but offense looks good. Offense looks explosive. They just need to clean up some of that BS that really prevented that from being a blowout. Rush, where are you going for number 7?
This is where I'll put Arizona. I gotta think Arizona's a little bit better than what they displayed. I actually don't disagree necessarily where you put them either, Ryan. But these power rankings are your small sample size, and you're still kind of thinking what they may have. I will give credit to New Mexico and Bronco Mendenhall there. Even though he's 0-2, he's for where New Mexico is and what he's been able to do. It's actually been, maybe they're 0-2, but 2 moral victories, at least 1-1 in the moral victory department. If Arizona can't outscore teams, though, like you said about their defense, Ryan, they're not going to be winning games. They're actually, Arizona's going to look like the old school Big 12 teams with like having to win like 59-54. Arizona might need to at least be putting 40 plus points on to win this game. Their defense looked undisciplined and will just not very good at all. So definitely have to clean that up.
Troy, where you got 7?
This is where I went Kansas. And this one might be one of my bigger overreactions, but you play the fucking penitentiary of Lindenwood and you come out there and you don't you've had this whole offseason. Everyone's been talking about Jalen Daniels. You return a nice running back that on the first couple drives of the game, if the quarterback's not hitting right away.
Did we lose Troy?
I think we lost him. I think I'm going to join him, and I'll finish his thoughts. I thought Kansas looked awful on Thursday night. I didn't think that they dominated the line of scrimmage like they should have against Lindenwood of all teams. So, yeah, give me Kansas at number 7. They just did not look the part.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, I finished your thought. I agreed with you on 7. So everything you said. Yep. Number 6. Back to Troy. Troy, you lead off. Who you got at 6?
This is where I have Colorado.
Ooh.
I know that their defense didn't look that great, but I still think that in the event that you can score points, you're going to be able to win some of these games in the Big 12. And I'm not talking about competing for a Big 12 championship. I'm saying, go on the road and pull an upset or something like that. And Colorado plays buddy ball with Shadur and Travis. And Travis is such a freak that it's almost like you have to play it like a basketball player where you know that guy's going to get his 25 points and 10 assists and just hope that you can cover everybody else and limit them. Again, not the strongest of opponents, but we don't know that necessarily. I mean, with how top heavy some of these conferences are going to end up looking. And the fact that North Dakota State had this circled and everybody had this as a big hyped up game. And, maybe Colorado could have performed better, but they were able to get the win and their talent sure looked like it's going to be better than almost everybody they play on their schedule. I mean, they've got standout top draft pick talent, which is, it's always going to be there in the event that, you only need one game.
Rush, number 6.
Number 6, the shirt that Troy is wearing right now. We pay players. Let's gonna get a little high on this Baylor ride again. It's been a while since I've been this high on him.
He's back,
but I'm back.
They're
baby.
so fucked.
Yeah, get the glue factory. Get that cranking right back up. But hey, in all seriousness, maybe I just thought Tarleton was going to be a lot better. I mean, they looked pretty good in the first half last week. In their FCS game, and then they kind of rode it. So maybe I'm like, you know what? They may try to give Baylor a run for their money. Obviously, we may think they could be the next in line for the FBS, but hey, half the battle to these games, kind of like what we've been saying this whole time, is just don't get in your own way. Like, just kind of do what you're supposed to. You're a better team. You got better players, and Baylor didn't get in their own way. So kind of what you're saying too with the game ball, Ryan, I'll give Baylor some credit. Might be a little too high on them, but hey, we're having fun.
I like it.
It's the day and age in college football we're in. You can get 6th in power rankings by not getting in your own way. Some of these teams look bad.
I went UCF at 6. I mean, they didn't move the needle for me. They did what they're supposed to. I thought Jefferson looked awful, but the rushing attack over 400 yards was impressive. So stay around 6 for me. Number 5, Rush. Or Troy, go. Sorry.
Well, that's UCF for me, so that works out really nice. Again, I already had them kind of high, so not a super impressive win in terms of what you want to see from KJ. But the reason why they're going to win games is their rush attack and Gus Malzahn being a little tricky bastard. I mean, it's probably going to lose them some games, but it's going to end up winning them a couple of games too. You just hope it's the right ones. That's their 5th for me still.
Number 5, I'll join you guys on the Kansas train. Team with a lot of potential. That's why I'm keeping them around 5. Tell you what, if you're gonna come out in those powdered blue uniforms, it should look a lot better against a team like Lindenwood. The score was not an indication of that game. They just looked flat. So, hey, it is Kansas. It is Leipold. They'll look to turn it around. Still a lot of potential with this team, but just kind of left a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth. Like, ugh.
I agree. All right. I'll tell you what left a bad taste in my mouth. And it might have been the worst pick we've ever given out on this show. Wyoming's performance in Tempe. I'm drinking the Arizona State Kool-Aid right now, dude. That was not a fluke score at all. 500 yards to 100 yards. They could have named the score. They could have won by more than 48. It was a shutout up till the last 5 minutes of the game. Arizona State, if we're going off of what we saw, Arizona State's got to be in the top 5 for me. I was super impressed. That fan section was unreal. Now you can't just be a one-hit wonder and lay an egg against Mississippi State on Saturday. Place could be sold out, going crazy again. Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham is rocking for me, and you're number 2 at number 5 through week 1. Sorry, Troy. We get into our top 4 real quick though. We got to talk about Rhythm. If you ever heard of Rhythm, well, it's the best absolute place to build your model. My model wasn't working as well this weekend. I did have North Dakota State. We all had North Dakota State. So plus the points, fade Dion laying big numbers. That's going to be a theme all year. Sneak peek. Might like Dion as a dog this weekend, though. That my model's barking at me. So make sure you get on over there. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by Game Time, baby. Game Time. Get your tickets on over there. If you want to go to that Arizona State game in Tempe, let's go. Get on over there. Get to Game Time so you know where your seats are going to be. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Rush has been using it for years. Troy's been using it for years. I love Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use the promo code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. Top 4. I didn't change my top 4 from the preseason based off week 1. I go to Troy. Lead it off.
I did not change mine either, although this team was 3rd and now they're 4th, but it's still Arizona. The ability to play buddy ball with a wide receiver that's the best in the nation. I don't care that their defense stinks, and they did not look good, but when it comes to Big 12 football, this is how you're supposed to play fucking Big 12 football. You're supposed to line it up and fucking huck the ball 50 times. There's got to be at least 3 or 4 teams in the conference that are, if Texas Tech's not going to do it, we need a couple of these fluky statistical performances where you're going to have quarterbacks throwing for 5,000 yards in a season, because that's the only way they can win games. But man, it's fun to watch. And I think maybe they'll get the outside contain a little bit better and still be able to steal a couple of possessions. But Arizona at 4.
I'm keeping Iowa State at 4. I know they didn't look great, but I feel like that's what was expected. They got Cy-Hawk coming up. They were going to just do the bare minimum to get out of that game. They were never worried about that game. Should have been a lot cleaner. Do they need to get better? Yes, absolutely, of course. But I also feel like, in a weird way, it's planned that way too. My prediction and why I chose North Dakota covering that game. I'm not worried about it. This is the chance for Iowa State to at least stay in the top 4 this week coming up. Another big game for the Big 12.
I guess same logic for me. West Virginia staying at 4. I'm not knocking a team that lost to a top 10 team for a bunch of teams that just beat up on a bunch of shitty FCS teams. So they stay there. I don't knock teams for losing top 10 games. Yeah, they could have looked a little bit better, but I like giving teams credit for actually scheduling. If they beat Albany by 100 this Saturday, then they're just like everybody else. So West Virginia's still at number 4 for me. I'm not touching my top 4 based off a top 10 loss. Troy, number 3.
Number 3, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Again, like I talked about, probably a game that you should dominate when you've got the average age of your roster at like 23 and a half. I don't care how good of an FCS program you are. You should be able to dictate the game. And, they didn't start ultra hot, but they got themselves a cushion and never really looked back and kind of, stayed out of their own way. The Olive Garden was only able to provide 2 breadsticks this week, which is a low number for unless you're going out there to eat alone. But Gundy post-game presser, hilarious as usual. Everything seems like, maybe Gundy did something in the offseason and like hibernated a month longer or a month shorter. So he thinks it's already November. or October, and he's not going to worry about the September thought process. But yeah, I would even agree with Matt and say Bowman, he did make a few throws. I mean, it was South Dakota State, but kind of did everything you'd expect him to.
I have Kansas State at 3. I projected them to win the Big 12 this year, and they're not at 3 because I necessarily think they did anything wrong. My remaining 2 teams, I just think they looked better and did more things right this past Saturday. But yeah, Kansas State did what they were supposed to. Would have been nice if they got another field goal. So my 4-12 was 5-11 in terms of predictions and picks. But hey, look forward to them playing a quality team and seeing what they're really capable of. But Kansas State at 3.
I joined Troy on OK State. I thought their defense kind of looked shitty again. They almost gave up 400 yards to South Dakota State. I know that's a good FCS team. So the box score a little bit fluky. They were even in yardage. But Ollie Gordon still looks good. It's going to be an offensive team. They're at number 3. No reason to move them from what I saw. Number 2, Troy.
This is where I still have Kansas State. Didn't pick them. Thought UT Martin would cover, and they come in with a clutch 1-point cover. But again, for a team that, I guess it's hard to be vanilla when your favorite color is vanilla, right? Like not to dumb down what Kansas State wants to do, but everybody in the world knows their identity, and it's not something that, holds them back from being a good football team, but they were just trying to take care of business and get through this week. And it's probably a good thing to have some teams at the top of your power rankings that aren't covering spreads, because it means the kids aren't betting on the games.
Rush.
Number 2, I am going with Utah. Did everything right against Southern Utah. Cam Rising looks really good. Obviously, you don't want to put too much weight into an FCS opponent, but man, Cam Rising does look like he didn't skip a beat, doesn't he? He looks good. Just looks very clean at the quarterback. Their line looks really good. Utah is a very talented team. Said we don't want to overreact to FCS opponents, but at the same time too, they just looked good. They just looked clean, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. And for Colby Davis, yes, we'll talk here in a second. I like BYU a lot this weekend, so had to finish that. I can't got to stop the Utah love and put some BYU in there. So Utah number 2.
Utah number 2 for me. I got to take a jab at Utah. That fan turnout was fucking pathetic for your Big 12 opener. For how great their passionate fan base is, that was weak on a Thursday night. I don't care if it's an FCS opponent. BYU would have showed up, I can tell you that. So I'm calling Utah out. They better show up for Baylor. Careful Baylor this weekend coming out there to Salt Lake. Number 1, I think we all just rotated the top 3. Troy, who'd you have?
I have Utah at 1.
Yeah.
Anybody that's got a defense where defensive players make normal tackles on normal plays like they're supposed to, and they don't get up and celebrate for fucking 10 seconds afterwards, you just got to like it. And fan section or not, luckily that doesn't affect how Utah's coached and how they play football games. It's, the shit's on 11 from the first whistle to the last whistle. And you just love to see it in today's college game with a bunch of, for lack of a better word, pussies.
I'm going to give Oklahoma State number 1. I know what you're saying about the box score, Ryan. However, all 3 of us were really worried about this game against South Dakota State. In a way, it was like, is Oklahoma State going to throw this all away and lose this game? And hey, they handled it way better than we all thought. They did the right things. They took care of business. They never made it feel like, even with the box score, like they had a chance of losing this game or it was getting out of hand. They said, hey, we are Oklahoma State. We are at home this game, and we are going to run right through this. And they did. So I got to give credit where credit's due. I think that was maybe not one of the biggest wins it was the biggest win for a team that has a lot of hype going into it and could win the Big 12 this year. So they picked up right where they left off going to the Big 12 championship last year. Got to give Oklahoma State credit.
Yeah, that one, I know they didn't cover, but if I'm looking for what I want out of a vanilla playbook, I want to see you hold your team to like 100 yards of offense. And that's what K-State did to UT Martin. They just choked them out. They offensively, they kept it really, really blah, basically, because they got Tulane on deck. But defensively, they dominate. So they're one for me. So we split it 3 across the board, round robin. And that gets us into this week, guys. Favorite game coming in, Rush. Friday night's a big one for the Cougs, man.
Huge. Historically, we beat SMU. It's always weird.
Yeah.
I really like BYU in this game. They win these games and then they'll go out to Wyoming and lose it. I've seen this a million times. I've called it before the season. I'm definitely sprinkling that BYU money line hard.
Troy, any one that's got your mind? Maybe Arkansas, OK State.
Definitely a little worried about Arkansas, but I'm more interested in the Cyhawk. I mean, you see Iowa put up points, but you've got to look at the opponent and see a lot of those throws by McNamara were to dudes that had like 10 yards of wide open space. I don't know if they're going to necessarily get that from Iowa State. Looking at it at like 2.5 in the favor of the home team seems like exactly what I would think. You would just give a field goal to Iowa right now is about the biggest separation. So, man, we'll see.
Yeah, we will. One I got circled, and where is it? It's at the bottom. Colorado, Nebraska, man.
It's a great week.
For primetime NBC. This is put up or shut up, man. I mean, you can't. Colorado's got to at least look the part. I don't know if they can win. I don't know. They could definitely win the game. Sorry. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but they need to come out here, go toe-to-toe. This is another Big 12, Big 10 game, just like this one. I'm worried about this game. Kansas only laying 5.5 at Illinois Saturday night under the lights. Another couple ones that are a little bit scary. K-State, we've seen this in the past, only laying 10 against Tulane. Troy, what are you thinking?
If Texas Tech goes on the road and loses to Wazoo, even though Wazoo's a favorite, that's a big hit to the Big 12, right?
Yeah. I mean, they need to win that game.
And if you watch their performance against Abilene Christian, you would surely think that Wazoo would be able to move the football. This could be a really dangerous spot for the Red Raiders. And, that would probably be a hot seat coach right off the bat, I would think, if you go 0-2 in these two spots. Basically, I mean, you win overtime to ACU is not, you can't really hang your hat on that, right?
No, this is a big game for Tech. This is a big game for Tech. Tell you who else it's a big game for. Those Sun Devils, can they make it 2 in a row, make a statement here? Prime time against the SEC opponents already sold out. They're ready to rock and roll. Another game worth noting, UCF going against Sam Houston. Sam Houston with the big upset over Rice this weekend. What else we got? We got Baylor, Utah. You giving your Bears any shot? A little non-con conference game.
You think that's going to be the team that goes to Rice Eccles and wins the game? No way.
Don't sleep on them, baby. How about this shit game on 12 o'clock on Saturday? Pitt at Cincinnati. That'll be a dandy. Actually,
too bad it's no longer Keaton Slovis and Emory Jones, or else we'd be in for a real treat.
Yeah. Hey, it's a revenge angle for Pitt. Cincinnati went in there and really controlled that game last year.
I hate
Emory Jones.
I hate to tell you guys this, but if Pitt can pass the ball, they have a shot at this. What is the ACC? Like, everyone's impressed with Miami's win, and they did look great, but like, there's a chance that Florida ends up going 3-9 or like 4-8. What is the ACC? Can Pitt win? Every time Pat Narduzzi can throw the ball, they always have a defense that's all right. I mean, as a WV fan, I'm kind of scared of that Pitt game more than I was coming into the year.
Oh, nervous.
Dude. I mean, the brawl is always going to be the brawl, but
yeah, just because it's the brawl. And
yeah, but Pitt did play Kent State, who is arguably maybe outside of Temple the worst FBS team. So I will.
Quick update too on Cincy. Dante Corleone's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, big fella's back.
Yeah, He's cleared. So good timing.
Good timing. Any other games that catch your eye, Rush?
Dude, like all of them. Everyone you've done, yeah.
No. Take the points. Take the points.
I don't know.
Absolutely whacked in that game.
Yeah, it's all of them have an angle though. I mean, even that. I mean, yeah, Houston has a long way to go as we put them at the bottom of our power rankings. But I mean, hey, this is a kind of a Big 12. I was going to say historic Big 12 matchup, but no, it's not really a historic Big 12 matchup with Houston joining last year, but has a Big 12 angle to it. I mean, majority of these games are great. I'm really looking forward to seeing what these teams are capable of. Oh, the Sharks.
The Sharks are at the Frogs. Frogs are live, baby. What other FCS game? Northern Arizona at Arizona. Rush, you're absolutely right. These games are on fire. Albany at West Virginia. If the show's canceled next week if Albany wins, I can tell you that.
I'm going back to my day job if they.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That'll do it. We 15 games next week. If you're wondering why there's one less game, well, there's a non-conference conference game with
there is
Utah and Baylor. So we'll be back Thursday. I just want to tease some of those lines, throw them all out on the screen so you guys can start thinking about who you're going to take this weekend. The only Friday night game will be Rush's BYU Cougars at SMU. We'll be back Thursday to pick all 15 games. But before we get out of here, Troy, what you got going on?
Nothing at all. Just ready for, what did they say? This Sunday makes it 21 straight weeks of football on Saturday and Sunday between college and the pros. Now's the time. Diet goes out the window. No dieting. It's gone. You've got to eat football food.
Not allowed.
Exercise is how long it takes you to get to and from your refrigerator. Don't do 2 beers at once. Just do 1 beer at a time and give yourself 50 extra steps, and then you're clear for 18 of them.
Dude, that is a fat guy football move, Troy. I know exactly what you're talking about, where you'll leave snacks and beer on the kitchen.
I gotta walk to get them.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. You're like, you know what? Like, I'll just, if I need another handful of chips, I'll stand up and go get it. That counts for like the handful that I'm going to have. Total fat guy football move. Absolutely right, Troy.
Julio's back. Let's go, Julio. Welcome back, brother.
Julio.
16-0 this week.
15-0, baby. We got 16-0 if you throw a bonus lock in there. Rush, we got Ryan and Rush coming on later. More Big 12 action. What else we got going on?
Just in the heart of football season, boys. NFL starts this week, so I always joke around. My Patriots, as everyone can see behind me, I got my 6th Super Bowl, so I'm pretty happy. Always want more. Always hungry for more, of course. As Tom Brady said, the best one's the next one. But I am married to a Packers owner, and I gifted her that ownership one year for Christmas. And I'm kind of to the point where it's actually better if the Packers win than the Patriots, because I'd just rather deal with a happier wife and me being sad than the reverse, where it's like, oh, man, she's upset right now. So, hey, NFL's around the corner, just to add to more stress and losing money levels. But, hey, it's also the most wonderful time of the year. So love you all. Thanks for the support. And Ryan Hasty, I am absolutely all over BYU this weekend.
Yes, he is. There he is. There we go. Let's go. Back here over at the College Basketball Experience, guys. NFL starting this week. College football week 2. Judgment week for the Big 12, as Rush called it. Also, college basketball coming up here in about 10-15 minutes. We got Coach Billy Taylor of Elon coming on. And then Noah Beanick and I are starting conference previews this week. We got 32 leagues to preview. And we got we only got 60 days to do so. So we got to get going now. So make sure you're subscribed to all the channels. College Football Experience. Colby and those guys are doing their pick show tonight. So make sure you tune in at 8:30. Noah Beanick and I will also be on the College Basketball Experience talking some other stuff here headed into the offseason, some headlines. So never stops, baby. Never stops. We all come together as one on youtube.com/the College Experience. He is at Troy Chewning. He is at Rambling Rush. I am at Moneyline_Mac. Going to be a big week for the Big 12. We are the Big 12 College Experience, and we are up on out of here.